You thought the secret ended in part 2. But the jungle was still watching. That night, the baby did not cry. Because the truth was finally awake. If you believe some secrets are never meant to be buried, subscribe to African Talee now. And tell me in the comments. White right pointing backhand index, should the jungle have forgiven them, or not? The night was not only dark, it was heavy. So heavy that even the air seemed exhausted, and the jungle itself stood still, holding its breath. Moisture dripped slowly from the leaves of towering trees, each drop falling onto the earth like a memory awakening, a memory this village had buried many years ago. And in the middle of that darkness, there was a light. Not fully light, not fully shadow, but something painfully caught between the two, a truth that refused to hide any longer. Suspended within that truth was a silent baby, floating in the air, completely still, as if time itself had decided not to touch him. For the mother, every second felt like an entire lifetime. Her heart was screaming, yet her lips could not move. Tears streamed down her face, but her body stood frozen like stone, because when fear reaches its final limit, a human being can only watch. They can do nothing else. The villagers stood behind her. Some whispered prayers. Some stared at the ground. Others closed their eyes, crying in silence. And in every mind, the same question echoed, why is this happening to us? Then the jungle answered. Its voice was neither loud nor soft. It was exactly what truth sounds like, steady, heavy, and impossible to escape. The jungle said this night did not belong to one child alone. It belonged to all the promises that were once made and later forgotten. It belonged to the oaths spoken around fire circles and later drowned in the waters of greed. The jungle reminded them that when the first human stepped onto this land, he bowed his head and said, "We are guests here, not owners." But with time, the guests became masters, and forgot the true owner. The old storyteller stepped forward. The wrinkles on his face were not only from age, but from regret. With every step, it felt as though he was placing the weight of his life onto the ground. He said that if anyone must answer tonight, it was the elders, because they had seen the truth, understood it, and still chose silence. They taught children that fear was protection, when in reality, protection had always been truth. The jungle replied that when truth is buried, it always returns, paid for by someone innocent. And this baby was not just a child, he was the mirror of the village itself. The light grew stronger. In the mother's ears echoed only memories, her child's first laugh, his first word, his first step. And she asked herself whether his only mistake was being born in this village. She begged the jungle, not with prayer, but with desperation, because when a mother speaks for her child, she forgets pride, shame, everything. The jungle answered that the price was not sacrifice. The price was change. If they wanted the child returned, they had to abandon their lies, the lies spoken daily, taught to their children, and kept alive for convenience. For a moment, no one moved. The silence was so deep that even heartbeats felt loud. Then one man stepped forward and said he would return the land taken from the jungle. Another vowed to abandon hunting. A third promised to stop silencing children with fear and instead raise them with truth. With every confession, the light softened. The air grew gentler, as if the jungle was watching closely, measuring who was merely speaking and who was truly ready to change. The mother asked one final question, would her child be the same? The jungle replied that a child who stands so close to truth never remains completely innocent. But neither does he live supported by lies. As the light descended and the baby returned to her arms, the entire village forgot how to breathe. She felt his heartbeat, strong and steady, yet within him lived a quiet depth, as though the night had stayed inside him. When morning came, the village had changed. The trees were the same, but their shade felt different. The people were the same, but their eyes carried understanding and shame. Days passed. Promises were kept. Land was returned. Oaths were remembered. And stories were told not to frighten children, but to guide them. The child grew, speaking little, observing much. And whenever the village began to drift toward the wrong path, his silence was enough to stop them. The old man used to say that some children are not born merely to live, some are born to remind. And so, a secret that could have become death was transformed into life through truth. This story is not only of one village, but of every place where people run from truth, because the jungle always reminds. First through fear, and if necessary, through innocence, every story has an ending. But not every ending brings peace. Some secrets are buried deep in the soil of time, passed from one generation to another, waiting for the moment they are finally revealed. This was not just the story of a baby. It was the story of a village, a mother's courage, and a jungle that never forgets. In African lands, we believe that the earth remembers every promise, the wind carries every lie, and the ancestors watch silently until truth is faced. If this story touched your heart, if it made you pause, think, or feel something deep inside, then this tale has done its work. Thank you for staying till the very end. Thank you for listening, for believing, and for being part of African Talee. More stories are coming. Stories of mystery, wisdom, pain, hope, and the powerful lessons hidden inside African folklore. Until the next tale, remember, some secrets don't destroy us. They transform us. African Talee, where stories live forever.